Good morning, everyone. Jean Soulier, Bus Patrol.
Good morning. Thank you for joining us.
Oh, thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
Okay, we are live.
Okay, Sean.
Committee on Finance, Tuesday, the 21st of April, 2020. Councilmember Wyatt.
Here.
Councilmember Bowman.
Here.
Councilmember Nowakowski.
Here.
Councilmember Wingo.
Here.
Council President Pridgeon.
Here.
Councilmember Golombek.
Here.
Councilmember Scanlon.
Present.
Quorum is present.
Okay, we're going to get started. Just want to thank the public for tuning into one of our first committee meetings during this pandemic, and hope that everyone is practicing social distancing and paying attention to the governor's orders so that we can all get back together at some point in time. But just want to read a couple of things real quick so that you're aware of what's going on during this committee. The City of Buffalo, as a part of the council's overall plan for operations and transparency, this meeting is being conducted remotely and broadcast live on the council's Facebook page at facebook.com/BFLOCC. Afterwards, the video will be posted on the council's web portal and YouTube page, as well as replayed on government access television. Public comments for any item under discussion in committee can be submitted by email to council staff at city-buffalo.com or by phone to 716-851-5105. The public is also able to submit comments in the Facebook Live comments section. All comments must be relevant to the item under discussion. A meeting transcript will be filed along with a record of written and transcribed public comment at the following council meeting. These actions are in compliance with the governor's executive order in regards to meetings conducted via telecommunications method. So we want to thank everyone for participating, and we want to get started.
Under items for discussion, item number 1, permission to enter into contract school bus armed camera services.
Okay, this item is open, and we have a couple of representatives from the School Bus Camera Organization, which is Bus Patrol America. We want to welcome them. I just can't see who's going to be speaking. Is it John? Jean,
that's right.
Jean. Okay, Jean.
Soulier,
welcome.
French Canadian. Thank you very much.
Okay. Can you just give us an overall overview of this contract and what we're trying to accomplish, what you'll be helping the City of Buffalo do?
Yeah, absolutely. First of all, Bus Patrol is the world's leading school bus safety technology. What we do is we turn a school bus into a smart bus, and we make the journey for kids to and from school a safer one. So the best analogy I can use to kind of bring everyone into context is, if you've walked on a school bus lately, it doesn't look much different from the one you walked on when you were a kid. And the reason for that is there's not much of a return on investment for innovating in technology in the school bus industry. When you walk into and you sit in your car today, compared to the one you sat in when you were a kid, it's like Star Wars, right? You have all of these sensors, you have all of this technology. And so Bus Patrol made it its mission to bring that kind of technology to the school bus industry and focus it specifically on safety. Now, what was missing in order to do this was money, unfortunately. And you folks understand, you guys are running a city, you're running a school district. You understand how complicated it can get. So we actually innovated by creating a program that flips the burden of investment on drivers who carelessly pass stop school buses. This is a problem that happens often. It's an epidemic. Every year there's a national survey. This year, 2019, the national survey had almost one violation per bus per day measured during the one measurement day. If you extrapolate that across all of America, that's over 17 million violations that would occur per year. And the consequences of those acts are actually getting worse. In 2018, during School Bus Safety Week, in 1 week in America, 6 children lost their lives. An additional 2 were put in hospital with adults as well. So we're starting to see that distracted driving, carelessness is just putting children at risk. So what we've done is we've created this great technology. It's AI enabled in the city of Buffalo, and we're very grateful for the selection of the award. In fact, the city of Buffalo, Bus Patrol has not lost a single RFP in over 1.5 years for this technology. City of Buffalo has chosen the most advanced AI-enabled enforcement technology in the world. All of your 610 route buses will be covered with this technology, both outside the bus to catch violators who break the law, as well as inside the bus to protect the kids who are boarding. This platform is all cloud connected and essentially costs no money to the municipality or the schools. Bus Patrol does all of the capital investment up front, and this contract is set up that way. We're equipping all the buses, the installation, the service, all of the operating costs that go into supporting the program. We're also doing that. In this case, Bus Patrol has also created a guaranteed revenue stream for the city. So for the first year of the contract, there will be a guaranteed revenue stream going through to you folks. So all of this really, and we're talking about money and investment, but really the key here is safety. So we're going to reduce stop arm violations by 25 to 30% every year of the program. And then we're going to bring forward additional innovations to make sure that everyone inside the bus is safe. One of those integrations we're doing right now actually is integrating a temperature gun that can take the temperature of kids to see if there's anyone exhibiting signs of fever before they even get on the bus. And in these times, our ability to evolve the technology to bring forward to the school systems innovative ways to handle problems that we couldn't even dream of handling before. And that's the promise of Bus Patrol. Promise of Bus Patrol is to bring technology where it's desperately needed, bring a revenue stream to cities, but more importantly, all the technology infrastructure that schools need. So they'll be able to know where kids are. They'll be able to know where buses are. Everything's cloud connected to the GPS, to the internal live streaming of the videos. We can check drivers in and out. It's just a wonderful platform. And we have, as a company, so you all know, during this pandemic, we actually did not pull back. As a company, we invested. One of the things we're going to be doing in the city of Buffalo is we're going to be opening up an office. We're going to be bringing jobs to your city. We're also an incredibly diverse company. We met and exceeded all of your diversity criteria. So we want to bring jobs. And the reason why we bring local jobs is because we feel enforcement programs that involve the community and where the community participates in policing itself are just better because they're more safety focused. And because we're doing it across the entirety of your fleet, we're also able to prove mathematically that the program is reductionary in nature. So every year we're providing you not only safety tech, not only revenue, but data that you can then publish to your constituents, that you can demonstrate that our efforts through our partnership are working. And that's why we're so successful, is because we're not focused on just putting technology on 10 to 15% of your buses where there's high traffic, and that's not our goal. We know that if we're going to do it right and put safety first, we're going to make sure every bus is equipped, because I won't represent a technology that treats a zip code as a revenue stream. A child's zip code should never determine their level of safety. So if one of the buses in your city never writes a ticket, then we're doing a good job. We know mathematically that the program sustains itself. We know that it's driving tremendous good. As your evaluation committee went through and checked our references, there's a reason why there's tremendous demand for us, and we're seeing it now. So the one thing I'd just like to end my presentation with is just to talk about what I did and the decisions I made to be ready for you folks. And as the pandemic started, we had to make investment. We build our own technologies. We had to invest in production runs. And I looked at all of the transactions and deals that we thought we would close. And I took a relatively conservative, but I felt business savvy investment in how many units we were going to build. Well, I didn't realize that in this pandemic, there would be such an increase in demand. Like, I've been on these calls every day. So we anticipate deploying on anywhere from 6,000 to 10,000 buses between now and September. I don't have all the units to support those implementations. I have to actually go to my board and get and tell them I'm spending another $20 million in building equipment to be prepared for a wave in the middle of a pandemic. So that's why it's really important for Bus Patrol. We promised you initially in when we submitted our bid that if we had a contract by April 1st, we could get you there by September 1st on 100% of your fleet. As this month goes, there are pressures. I may not have enough units or installers if the delay of this contract goes any further. Notwithstanding, I'm committed to delivering 100% of your fleet. I just want to set expectations that this is a great program. You have an opportunity. I have logistics, and I'm just hoping that the committee today will put child safety first. Let us get to work and show you that what the best safety technology in the world can do for your kids.
Okay. Any questions? Did your colleague want to say anything?
No, I think I'm the voice, so I can handle it.
Questions, council members? Any questions?
Councilmember White, Chairman.
Council President?
Thank you, and thank you for being on the call. Just so that the public who is watching now, the beginning of our meeting there was no audio on the Facebook feed. So we do apologize for that. That was a technical issue. I do have a note here from the Chief of Staff that audio is back on. There will be a full transcript available to the public, and they will try to edit the audio. So we do apologize. But this is a question about because I know the goal of the school bus arm cam, I know I'm messing it all up, and I fully support, I think at the end of the day, people who go around buses, it's very, very dangerous for our young people. But here's the question, because this is supposed to sustain itself. If the amount of violators is reducing, and let's say goes down, and we hope it does significantly, is there a minimum in your contract of how many violators there must be for you all to stay with the program in this area?
No, sir. Our contract has no minimums. It is a 5-year contract where Bus Patrol commits to supporting the technology for the entirety of the contract, whether we write one ticket or whether we write 50,000. It really doesn't matter. We know our data. We know how often this happens. We've built these programs to be sustainable. And also we understood the importance. We don't want to put financial risk on school systems or municipalities. That's the reason why this technology hasn't made it to school buses. So we've taken the financial burden away from the law-abiding taxpayer, away from municipalities, away from schools. And on top of that, we've also guaranteed over $2 million of revenue in the first year of operating this program to help you guys fill some holes that we didn't even think were going to be there before when we started this. So, sir, to answer your question very simply, there is no financial risk to the city of Buffalo to sign this contract.
Can you explain what you mean when you said to fill some holes? Because I want to be plain on my part as a council member. I'm not supporting this for any revenue for the city of Buffalo at all. It is based solely on the safety of children. So my second question is what you mean when you say fill some holes. And the second one, maybe back to the chairman, I forgot what the fine would be for the violators and who sets that.
Sure. So I'll answer what I mean by fill some holes. And the holes are technology holes. And when you talk to school transportation directors and you ask them what kind of access to data they have. Let me give you an example. If we plan for a stop and we see that bus stop has dangerous violations, there's a lot of violations and there's kids crossing the street. Today, transportation directors have no ability to proactively move that stop based on that data. So now what we're doing is we're saying, hey, I'm filling a hole in knowledge right now. I'm filling a hole in technology. I'm now giving the school transportation directors tools to be able to not wait for an incident to happen, but prevent one. And then you start to trigger other things, right? Like as other regulatory compliance needs get imposed on schools, who knows what's going to happen with this social distancing? What happens if all of a sudden school districts have to have less kids on each bus and they have to increase the amount of runs in order to maintain social distancing? And then they have to run more runs. How are they going to manage this fleet of drivers and this fleet of buses without data? And then you have to look at the driver population. The driver population is all people who are at high risk. Most people are retired people driving school buses, doing it in a way to contribute to their communities, not doing it in a way to become millionaires. They're doing it in a way to help and make a little bit of extra money. So we owe it to them to give them the safest work environment. We owe it to school districts to give them the most technology and access to tools to do an effective job. It's been too long that we've been talking safety first and acting, saying, well, we're talking safety first, but efficiency actually is what drives our decisions. The word efficiency is code for money. That's what it is. So what we're saying is, give them the tools to act safety first. Give them the flexibility of technology to change their operating procedures to match what a safe environment is. Because I can tell you that one child injured, one child dead is too many.
Now he asked a question regarding the tickets, the price
Oh,
of
the fine, yeah. So the fine is $250 per ticket.
Mm-hmm. Now, is that state? That's a state?
It's state law, correct. It's a state law, and if someone gets multiple violations, the state law allows for that fine to be increased from $250 to $275 to $300.
So will this be a mark on an individual who violates that? The license?
It can be tagged to the plate, but it is so they wouldn't be able to renew their license plate if they didn't pay their fine.
So it's on the car, not the individual.
It's the owner of the vehicle that gets the ticket. It's not the individual's license itself.
Questions, colleagues? Any questions? Councilmember Nowakowski?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I do just have a few quick questions. The first is I do want to echo the sentiments of the council president. This for me is, I'm absolutely in support of the approval today, because one of the most reprehensible vehicle infractions you can make is to go around a school bus and to go too close to it. That's just directly impacting the safety of children. The quick question I have is that, so the notices will be mailed to the violators?
Yeah, correct. So this is how it works. What we do is our AI engine gathers all of the evidence. Those evidence packages are then built and shared with police officers or law enforcement technicians, depending on the deployment. So every ticket is approved by someone who the city gives the authorization to approve that ticket. So they use their judgment of the law and whether it was broken or not to issue the ticket. Once that ticket is issued, Bus Patrol handles all of the back office work. So we print the ticket, mail the ticket to the offender. And then when the ticket gets mailed to the offender, they actually go online and they can see the evidence used against them. They see a video of their car passing a stopped school bus. So once you see how compelling the evidence is, 95% of people, they pay their ticket right there online. So we were definitely very successful in what we call educating drivers. And there's some really great anecdotes of how people, I was in an Uber car in Washington, D.C. recently, well, before the lockdown. And the Uber driver asked me what I did for a living, and I told him what we did with Bus Patrol. He's like, I got a ticket, my wife got a ticket, my son got a ticket, and we all had a family dinner, and we looked at our videos, we talked about how careless we were, and he thanked me. So, I often say, a picture is worth 1,000 words. Well, a video is worth 1,000,000. And that's why we're so effective at reducing the behavior. Because when your community knows that it's ubiquitous, every time there's a stop school bus, that they know, oh my God, I could get a ticket. So, Councilman, when you see a police, let's say you're driving down the road and you see a police car, what's the first thing you do instinctively?
Slow down.
You pump the brakes, right?
Yeah.
So you pump the brakes, and then you look at your speed. You're like, I pump the brakes, look at my speed, and then I say, oh, was I speeding? No, I wasn't speeding. Okay. I want to create that very same reflex in every motorist in the city of Buffalo. I want them, when they see a big yellow bus, that they pump those brakes and they have that reflex, because one pump of those brakes could save a life. And that's really the focus and the foundation of everything we've done from a technology engineering perspective to solve a real important problem.
Now, my second question is, what percentage of the fine does your company keep to support the technology?
So the way it works is we keep 60% of the technology, and the municipality keeps 40%, but we pay for everything. So that means the maintenance of the equipment. So if anything breaks down, we come in, we replace it for the full life of the contract. All from the paper it's printed on, to the stamps that it's mailed with, to the Oracle e-commerce infrastructure that's underlying it. So there's absolutely nothing, no costs that are imposed on the municipality. So when you actually dial out the cost, the municipality is definitely the winner of this.
Yeah.
Okay. Majority Leader? Got to unmute yourself, Majority Leader. Okay.
Sorry. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yeah, I agree with being able to find people for going past school buses. The question I have is the build out, the cost to the company, and the duration of the contract. If people are conditioned to stop behind school buses and not go by them, I imagine in the beginning there'll be probably some revenue as a result of people not being conditioned. But as people are being conditioned to obey the traffic laws, in terms of your build out and return on your investment, should the fees or should the revenue go down as a result of conditioning, how would you get a return on your investment? I mean, I'm just trying to understand the business model myself. How would you get a return on the investment if people are being conditioned over a period of time? And I'm hoping that we don't make $1. That means people are obeying the vehicle and traffic laws. And unfortunately, fortunately for the safety of the kids, but for the business, I just don't know what impact that's going to have on your business and the city of Buffalo over a longer period of time as people are being conditioned to obey. I agree that business model and how this goes forward in the out years as people are being conditioned.
Yeah, that's a great question, and actually, it's one that I was asked pretty intensely recently. So, in January, Bus Patrol raised over $300 million from Brookfield Oaktree, which is the world's largest private equity firm. So they are the majority shareholders of Bus Patrol, and that was the very, very first question they asked. So we're really good at catching people. Like our AI technology catches everyone. And what you have, especially in cities like Buffalo, you'll have like, yes, the front end is front loaded where we'll recover a lot of the initial capital for the technology. And then what you have is transient populations, people moving in and out of the city, new drivers every year. And some of those dynamics statistically create what we call a baseline of tickets. We'll never get it to zero, sir. And I'm sorry that we can't do that. It's just impossible because educating new drivers is something that happens every day. The aging of the population happens every day. So we've got all of these different dynamics, but when we ran our statistical models, we came up with a formula that works. So, and that formula makes sure we make money over the 5 years. And we deploy 100% of the equipment within the first 6 months to a year of every contract. In your case, with the 610 buses, we committed to doing it by September. But Oak Tree would not have written us a $300 million check if they didn't feel that our model was sustainable. And on top of that, as we grow our client base, if we show that some markets, that all the people who are on with us are reducing their stop arm violations, we get new clients that come in too. So we get to grow our business by proving our solution works. And then we get to diversify our revenue streams. And that's another platform program that we've talked about. And it's something called the Student Safety Ecosystem. So we sign up a bunch of partners that come into the Bus Patrol ecosystem. And then our clients can use their share of the revenue to buy additional safety features over time. So that allows us to create a new revenue stream, but also do things like we have development going on right now to take our camera technology and put it in the physical schools. Because imagine cloud-connected cameras in physical schools that gave situational awareness to police officers during a mass casualty event. Like those are the kinds where when we think of safety, we're thinking of safety holistically. How can we continue to grow and evolve our company based on that safety mission for students? And so we're very comfortable and confident. And like I said, there's no better proof than who our owner is to make sure you're sustained through the life of the contract.
Okay, colleagues, anybody else question?
I just want one last question.
Okay,
So if somebody goes through this or passes the school bus, the offender or the person that's going to get the ticket is the registered owner of the vehicle, not necessarily the person that is actually driving the car.
Correct. Absolutely.
Okay. Have you had any problems with that? People that say, hey, I wasn't driving the car. I mean, they're responsible. They're loaning out their cars to a member of the family.
We actually have a process, whereas if the person who was driving the car is willing to take on the responsibility of that act, we can transfer the ticket from the owner to the individual and then fine them. So we do have the capabilities. You actually bring up another good point, which I like to bring up. When you're talking about, first of all, I'm a Vision Zero advocate. So Vision Zero, I'm a firm believer that automated traffic enforcement, whether it be for speed or red light or school bus, it works. Like when you put this technology in, there are less accidents than there were before, okay? The issue with adoption is people's kind of perceptions, right? So emotional ties. When they get a speed ticket, they're kind of, even though it's the right thing to do is to ticket these people, they're like, my car, like I didn't feel how fast I was going. The speed limit hasn't changed in 100 years. And then it's kind of like seen negatively. When it comes to school bus though, you pass a stop school bus and that ticket is mailed to your home. You better hope to get there before your spouse does, because there is an emotional, moral consequence to that act that is very different. And what it does is it makes for better adoption of these programs, which is why our program is so successful. It's really successful for two reasons. One is that it's equitable. Every kid gets covered. No one's left behind. That's the very first reason. And then the second reason is it's addressing an issue that is sacrilege to most people when they think about it. When I first started looking at this technology, my friend owns a school bus operator, and he told me that people pass stop school buses. I didn't believe him. Like I really didn't believe him until he tracked manually how many people pass a school bus. And in my neighborhood, I was blown away. And that's what kind of kicked off the journey of us using our engineering brains to develop this groundbreaking technology. So we're pretty proud of what we've been able to do in such little time.
Thank you.
Any questions?
Mr. Chairman, just so you're aware, we've been joined by Commissioner Helfer.
Okay. Can you tell me, are there any errors with this? I mean, if there was an error, how would somebody address that error?
What kind of error would you mean, sir?
If it wasn't them, or if it, I mean, let me just ask you first, can there be any errors in this process?
Well, no, and I'll tell you. So when a car passes a stop school bus, the way the law's drafted, right, it says that it's illegal to pass a stop school bus with its overhead lights flashing.
Mhm.
It doesn't address speed, distance, nothing. Whether what direction you're traveling, the law is very clear. We err on the side of caution in the law because the consequence is so great. So all we have to prove is, did the car pass?
Okay.
So one of the things that we consider, that law enforcement considers in their decision, is did the person have enough time to stop? So what we also do when we build our evidence is we provide timestamps on when the amber light goes on, because we're plugged right into the telemetry of the bus. So we show the amber light's on now, the red lights are flashing now, the stop arm is deployed now, the car passes now. And then when you give the context of time, police officers are also giving and issuing tickets with the context of, hey, you had 5 seconds to stop. You should have stopped.
Mhm.
So those are the kinds of judgment calls we see in this technology, which is why we've provided the evidence in the way we have. And when you look at collection rates and payment rates in school bus through our programs, they're much higher than what the average automated enforcement is. And that's because of the strength of evidence. And also, when people get one of these, they feel morally obligated to pay because they did something that put a child's life in danger. And most people know that.
So in an instance where a bus is coming up to a stop,
Yep.
and let's say in some cases a bus driver who may not be responsible stops suddenly and a car goes by, is that something that you'll capture, that the individual who was driving by is not held accountable because the bus driver didn't use proper caution?
So that's a great point. So this is also a training tool. So we wouldn't issue a ticket in that case for a couple reasons. So one is, when the operating procedure to stopping a bus is very simple.
Mhm.
You start flashing your yellow lights when you're about to stop. Once you've stopped, now you flash your red lights. Your red lights are flashing, then the stop arm comes out. This notion of like pit crew style slamming the brakes on a bus, opening the door and having the stop arm deployed, it's just not technically how it happens, right? Now what could happen is a school bus driver could stop, could not deploy their stop arm, they could not follow instructions, and then we have this video and we see it, and all of a sudden we flag school districts. So remember I talked about data earlier and about having this? Well, this video data is also really helpful, because then the school district can go to the school bus operator and say, hey, we have an issue with how this bus driver is performing their stop procedure. We need to retrain them. So those are the kinds of things that we bring. And then also the telemetry brings all kinds of other dimensions. So I can tell you how fast a school bus went down your street last Tuesday at 8:22 a.m. You enter it in and you can see. So if someone complains that a school bus is driving fast down the street and they call the transportation director, they can simply log onto the platform and tell through data whether that happened or not. So you're starting to move away from kind of this anecdotal judgment-based thing, and you're being focused more on facts, more on data, and then from there, when you're dealing with true data, clean data captured on 100% of your fleet, then you're going to start to see some real exponential improvements to safety.
So is that camera going the entire trip for the bus driver, or is it just opening up and recording data as the arm is open?
No, it's the camera is constantly recording. So we have AI that's in the cameras themselves. And her name, by the way, she has a name. Her name is Ava. So it stands for Automated Violation Analysis. And she's the one that's watching over the kids. So Ava collects all the data through the cameras. And then those cameras filter the data to only pump up through the wireless network, the AT&T's wireless network that we've built. So only the violation type data gets moved up into the cloud to be then analyzed by Ava and then packaged by her to be able to pre-build evidence packages that then get quality assured by our processors, which are the people we would be hiring in the city of Buffalo, and then sent to police. So all of that work is being done continuously on the bus. The hard drive inside is also segmented. So all of the external enforcement video is managed under the governance of traffic enforcement, and all of the internal video for schools, which is physically separate. So they never get to access each other's data. Now the schools have their own kind of piece of the pie to be able to manage internal safety. So, and that triggers other automation. So let's say that they were to do that temperature gun because it would be some requirement. So bus driver would take the gun, measure the temperature of the kid, takes 2 seconds with a laser on the forehead, and then all of a sudden, hey, you're allowed to come on the bus. And then it would be able to track and document all those things in an automated fashion without asking the bus driver to actually do anything other than that. So that's kind of the notion of having a platform on a bus.
I have any other questions from colleagues? Mitch, Councilmember Nowakowski.
Yeah, I have a question.
Oh, hold on, Councilmember Wingo. Well, let Councilmember Wingo, because he hasn't asked a question yet. Councilmember Wingo.
All right, real quick. The question has to do with the AI picking up cars that are passing the bus. From what I understand, when I first started driving several years ago, maybe my instructor was wrong, but he had informed me that if you are facing the school bus or behind the school bus, you have to stop. But if you're going perpendicular to the bus, going basically in the same direction of the students, you can do that. So help me understand whether or not if the students who are, the drivers who are going perpendicular will still be picked up by AVA and issued a ticket.
No, they won't. So the law, the way it works is that people coming from behind the bus and people coming from in front of the bus, they need to stop.
All right. So
Perpendicular don't.
okay, so that's clear. And I want everyone who's watching to know that as well. Now, as far as the folks who are running through the flashing lights and the arm, another question that I know some people may have is whether or not if you're on a street where the bus, there's a divider, let's say Main Street, where we have some of the, what do we call those things?
They're medians.
The medians.
Yeah.
Now, it's not typical for a bus to drop a student off and then walk them across the median, but on Main Street where we have medians and other streets as well, are those cars required to stop on the other side of the street?
The answer is yes.
Okay, so if those cars are going, they're going to get a ticket.
Correct. And let me explain why. Okay, so the law in New York State is pretty strict on this, and it should be. So I want you to picture a moment where you've got a parent who's dropping their kid off at the bus stop because the kid's late. Then they drive their car up, and they're across the street because they're not doing a U-turn. They're just pulling over and stopping. Now that kid gets out of their parent's car and then decides, I'm going to run right in front of my mom's car, and then go to make my way to the bus on time. Well, those cars coming the other way, if they're not stopped, they're not going to see that kid. They're going to look at the school bus, and they're going to keep going. And then by the time they turn their eyes to that kid who just darted in front of their kid's car, they're going to be at risk.
Okay, John, I appreciate that. It's not you don't have to justify it to me. It's just a matter of whether or not they will get a ticket. If the answer is yes, it's yes. If it's no, it's no. I just want to make sure that the public knows and understands that when you see and you are facing a school bus, and those lights are on, the red lights, you have to stop. It's just like running a stop sign. I think the question was asked earlier, but I'm not sure. I'm going to re-ask it anyway. The bus does AVA.
Yeah.
She picks up the speed of the vehicles as well?
No. I mean, we have the technology too, but we don't collect the speed because the speed is irrelevant to the offense. So you can.
But the infraction is running the sign. But if they're running the sign and they're also speeding as well, that exacerbates the entire scenario if anything could have or would have happened. You see what I'm saying?
Well, yeah. So let me actually tell you. I agree with you, by the way. But we're not issuing speeding tickets in this program. We're issuing stop arm violations. But to your point, when you're in more rural communities or roads that have higher speed limits, like some of your main roads, right? Like that, the consequences there. Kids don't survive being hit by a car at 50 miles an hour. They just don't. They can survive at 20, but not 50. So yes, and the faster you drive on the roads, also the less time you have to react, and which also when you're distracted and driving fast and going past school buses, now you've got kind of this perfect storm that could create like all kinds of pain for a family. So your point's right, but just to be specific, this program, if you take your car and you crawl past the stop arm at like 2 miles an hour, you still pass the stop school bus with the stop arm deployed, and you're still going to get a ticket because it's not right to do that. And people should be patient because that's our future, getting on and off that bus.
Councilmember Nowakowski.
Councilmember Wingo was able to clear up all my answers or questions.
So I guess our question, I think we have Commissioner Helfer on. Commissioner, how will we start educating the public as we're looking for this to happen in the fall?
Soon as thank you, council member. Good morning, everyone. What I committed to do, and I think what I represented when we talked about this, at the finance committee meeting, is I think education is a huge part of this, and we got to start as soon as possible. So if your honorable body approves this, I would obviously like to get the contract done as soon as possible. Dot the I's, cross the T's, and start educating in numerous ways. As I mentioned at our finance committee meeting, any block clubs you have, myself or my administrator of the traffic violations, Danielle Morgera, will be at every one of those meetings. Obviously we're going to communicate on all of our different platforms that we have as well. And any ideas that you may have that you would like us to incorporate into that marketing plan, but we intend very much to get out there into the community and educate as much as possible. And we have the time to do that right now. Obviously, we got May, June, July, and August. So we have 4 months before this program would go live. And I think we could do an incredibly thorough education and marketing plan around this issue. And I think all the questions you asked today are questions that people have got to know. I think a lot of people think that if there's a median in the street, they don't have to stop. It's very clear by law that you do. And those are the types of things that we have to get out there. So I'm very committed to the education component. We try to do that in everything in terms of our traffic violations agency, and we will continue to do that. And I will work with your honorable body to make sure that we get that plan out there.
So
if I may, sorry to interrupt, just to add, Bus Patrol is also committed to helping public relation campaigns, educating the public through our advocacy platform. We create videos, we create custom content with our partner cities. And then I view this 5-year partnership as that. It's a partnership. And what we're gonna do every year is continuously educate the public on the program, on how it's working, on things that we're seeing. And we're gonna use our technology to help the city of Buffalo communicate to its constituents. So know that we're investing real hard dollars. In fact, we invest $25,000 per year per client that's designated to specific public relations work.
Okay. So Commissioner, in saying that, since we have the time, will there still be a grace period during this?
The grace period is really the installation.
I'm asking the commissioner. Hold on.
Oh, sorry.
Commissioner.
I don't think there would be a grace period, to be honest with you. I will review the law to see if there's anything in there that suggests that we have to have that. But I think by educating and being out in front with the public, I think that we could get that point out there, very thoroughly, and people would know exactly when it's coming.
Okay.
Councilmember Wyatt?
Yes, Councilmember Wingo.
I'm not sure if there needs to be a grace period, and I would just like to tell you why I believe there doesn't need to be a grace period. First of all, it's already illegal to run a stop sign on a school bus. And the only way someone who runs a stop sign will get a ticket is if the police are there to witness it. So they already are liable to get a ticket. This is just like Jean said earlier. It helps us with efficiency. It helps us be more efficient with, writing the tickets for the folks who are putting our young people at risk, fatal risk, by running these stop signs and stoplights on the school bus. So I don't think there needs to be a grace period. People already know there's a stop sign. That's why we installed the arms on the bus, so that the children have a safe distance from the bus when they walk in front of it. Also, why we put the stop signs on the side of the bus, so that folks can't say, well, I didn't see the lights. Well, you saw the stop sign on the side of the bus. There's two of them. There's no way you couldn't seen it. So I don't think there needs to be a grace period. We need to do whatever we can to get Commissioner Helfer working on this and get this program up and running. I'm all about the safety of the children, not just because I have 5 children that have all gone through public schools and have ridden on the yellow buses, but for everyone's children. We always have to, like John said, look out for the welfare and the well-being of our most vulnerable populations, which are our students, who are also our future. So I don't think there needs to be a grace period. I'm ready to vote, if the rest of my colleagues are, to make sure that this thing goes through as expeditiously as possible.
Okay, thank you.
I just reviewed the law, and there is no required warning period by state law.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments?
Mr. Chairman, just very, very quickly, because I know we have spent an hour almost on this. There was a comment from Jean about and I know this is about the law. So Kevin, Commissioner, I'm actually asking you this question, and it said the fine could be increased. And the reason I'm asking it, because of course we have the school zone right now with fines. We will have this with fines. And again, I do support this. But the question is, who would make that decision whether a second violation is increased? Is that the hearing officer?
No, that's state law. State law says that violation number 1 is $250. A subsequent violation goes to $275. The third one goes to $300.
So the statement of could be increased is not accurate according to state law. It would be the fine would be increased.
Yes, within an 18-month period. If they got their third violation within an 18-month period, it would increase to $300 for the third violation, $275 for the second, $250 for the first.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
You're welcome.
Commissioner?
Hello?
Commissioner? Hello?
I'm here. I'm
Okay.
here. I'm here.
Yeah, I'm asking, so the violation would go against the registrant. So if that registrant, if there's 2 violations in that car, would that person's insurance also go up?
No, the insurance goes up on a VMT, a traffic violation. This is not. This goes against the registration, not against the license.
Okay. Okay. Any other questions?
Yeah, that's a good question, council member. The infractions are tied to the registrant of the vehicle, but when does it, impact the owner of the vehicle if the person doesn't pay? If it doesn't, who handles that, Commissioner Helfer?
I think, as John said before, you're responsible for who drives your car, and if you want to transfer that liability and the person who's driving it agrees, you can do that. But if they don't, that all goes on the owner of the vehicle. They would owe the fine, but remember, there's no points attached to it. Their insurance isn't going to go up.
Okay. Any other questions? Any other questions? Okay. Motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
Seconded by Councilmember Bowman. Okay, thank you, everyone.
Mr. Chair, did we have anything from Taisha? Were there any public comments?
Council President. So there were only 2 comments, and it was really towards they want to make sure that we have enough bus aids for these buses, and that's really about it. And one comment was in favor of no grace period. Those will be sent to you guys through the chat too with their names.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you for your trust, everyone.
Okay.
We will do you all proud by putting together the best stop arm enforcement and school bus safety program on the planet. So I look forward to working with you on it.
All right. Thank you so much. Thank you for being here.
All right, be well, everyone.
Okay, next item.
Mr. Chair, can you check with Corporation Counsel because you're sending it for approval? I know in the council, we have to roll call it. Just make sure we don't have to roll call this one.
Okay.
I think it's fine if we just send in for recommended approval. Next week when we actually do the approval, we definitely have to roll call it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next item.
Item number 2, city financial status reports.
Item is open.
This item is open. Council President.
Sorry, my internet is a little choppy. So I don't know if anybody's on for the administration. What the spirit of this resolution or the purpose is just to keep the council informed, especially in these times when we know revenue is down, so that we know where we are generally at. I'm not at this point asking for a dollar by dollar, but I do want a bird's eye view, and I think the commissioner is on to offer that, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, Commissioner. Commissioner Huffer.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were talking about Commissioner Estrich.
Oh,
Yeah, I could answer. I could certainly answer that as co-chair of the mayor's fiscal subcabinet. We certainly got your resolution, Commissioner Estrich. Myself, the 3 people she has in her office are all working on that. We've made great progress. Council President, I appreciate you saying, exact numbers, because that's almost impossible right now. This just changes every single day from one day to the next. And a lot of this is going to depend on, obviously, how long this goes into the future. But I think we've made some very good judgments, prognostication, so to speak, based on the information that we have available for us at this time. And by Thursday at the deadline, we will certainly file. And in the spirit of your resolution, we will absolutely let you know to the best of our abilities. And I'm not shirking our responsibilities. This is so hard to project things like sales tax. Very tough. Our state aid, we're hoping desperately that Governor Cuomo keeps our state aid. But as you know, their budget that was just passed recently allows him to have the flexibility to adjust some of those things. So we will absolutely give you as accurate information as we can at this point in time. And we just have to know that that is going to be a moving target that just changes so quickly and so rapidly. And obviously, the sooner we get back to like we were before, whatever, that normal is of what we had before, the better off we will be both in this year that we're in right now and obviously subsequent year. But we will have all that information filed for your next meeting.
Thanks, Commissioner. And if I guess my major concern, many concerns, but especially as we're moving toward having conversations about the upcoming budget, I think it's going to be just very important that we have that information. I'm glad to hear you, and I want to work with the administration. So this resolution is in no way trying to put anybody on the spot. It's really for the information, because we all have budget requests. Administration has budget requests. At this point, I want to start having conversations with my colleagues, but it's very, very tough because we have at this point not even a clue. And I know that it's a moving target. So as much information as you can give us with that filing on Thursday, but because this is moving, I would hope that we wouldn't have to, I don't want to file another resolution as this target moves, because once we start talking about budget, I want to be very sure that myself, my colleagues, the public knows why we may have to cut something that we're asking for in the future based on what that target is moving. And that's the conversation I think is so very important to have on a consistent basis with the council.
Understood.
So my thought is, Commissioner, and I know it's not in the resolution, and you may have to go back and send this up the flagpole, but that for every council meeting, we have that information, even if it's from bird's eye, so that if something is going terribly in the negative, we know that and we can make decisions jointly going forward. Is that something that's way too hard to do?
I don't think so, but I certainly, like you said, I will sit with the administration and go through that and figure out the best way to communicate that.
Okay, and thank you, Commissioner, for getting that filed for Thursday. I know that you will, and then that way I'll start conversations with my colleagues and we'll start talking about the budget that's coming up rapidly.
Yes, indeed. Thank you.
Any other questions? Councilmember Revere?
Thank you, Commissioner. I think that we should be having more meetings with regards to the finances. We have approximately maybe 5 more meetings before the end of the fiscal year. We have one budget is given to us. We want to know a couple of things. One, I know there's some COVID impact the budget, and then there are other items that COVID projections that are either doing well or not doing well. We need to know all that. I think we need to know that real time. I don't want to wait to the very end. We were having some budgetary difficulties. The Finance Committee would meet regularly prior to, and I know it's difficult prior to the end of the fiscal year and prior to the budget being presented. I think that we need to stay engaged with regard to the finances. I don't want to wait to the very end and then it's and then we have to scurry and do things quickly without being able to vet things properly because we waited too long to give it to us, and then we're trying to do things at the very last minute. And I'd like to see that avoided. I think that the Finance Committee should be utilized. I think the chairman should be part of a lot of the discussions perhaps that are being had because he is the chairman of the Finance Committee, and I think he should be included in this. So I think that should go to the administration. I encourage them to start having meetings as soon as possible. I know these are difficult times, and the way we're doing it is very difficult, but it's something that we need to do.
Commissioner?
I'm sorry. I completely missed that whole conversation. Go ahead, say that again. My Wi-Fi's in and out too.
Chairman, I'll let you. No, not a problem. I know that we're having some difficulties here with the internet, but Chairman, you might want to repeat some of that.
Yeah, he's basically asking that the administration, as I've asked before during our conference call with the mayor, about a little bit more conversation about what's going on with the finances. I know it's a difficult time. We all know it's a difficult time, but you all know information, and I think that information as best you can should be shared with us. And I think this resolution asks for some of that. But again, we're looking for a little bit closer participation and cooperation before the budget comes up in a couple of weeks, so that we have information and we're acting in a proactive way instead of a reactive way.
I completely understand. I'll pass that along.
Okay. Any other questions, comments? Delano, Mr. Dow?
Yes, thank you everyone. Delano Dow from the Comptroller's Office. We do look forward to reviewing the third quarter gap report next week. I believe on May 1st, the administration stated that they'll have that available. And the Comptroller and her team also look forward to reviewing the budget. But one thing the Comptroller would like to share with this group and everyone listening is that we do have on the Comptroller's website, which if you go to the comptroller's corner, you can visually see the city finances. You can see where we're at today, and you can look at previous years' actuals from 2017 until 2020. So you can look at the expenditures and revenues that have come in and out of the city. You can look at the budget and compare those numbers by department. So that's data that's been available that come right out of the city's financial system, Munis. So that's data that's available to the public, that's available to you guys, where you can view it on your own and then ask whatever questions you might have to the comptroller and her team or to the administration. So I've been more than happy to provide that link or that path to you guys and everyone listening on the line, so you can pull that data up on your own and then analyze it. But I know the comptroller will also like to be a part. Her and her team would like to be part of these meetings also in regards to the budget. I mean, we have full faith in administration and the budget, but we also would like, I think actually on our end, more to review it and then provide a response to you and to this group and also to the public.
And that is definitely appropriate, Delano. Thank you. Council President Pridgen.
Yeah, and thank you, Mr. Dow, for that. I think that's really important that the public knows that. So here is why we need that information, and and also to have it kind of disaggregated. It's almost like opening up for me a car manual of how to repair a car. I'm not going to get very far without the professionals to help me to understand, where that disc is and where that catalytic converter is and how to really disaggregate that. So again, bird's eye view from the controller's office on what we're seeing, because we know, well, the public doesn't know, these numbers change every day. And so it's like the stock market. Most people are not going to be able to sit there and look at it every day, but having the controller's office give us a bird's eye view, having the administration give us a bird's eye view would really, really be helpful. And I know when that gap sheet comes out, that's going to be helpful. But if there is an alarm, because the profession, you guys are looking at this every day. If there is an alarm, we want to know. And again, it is not, because I think sometimes when we have these conversations, some people take it as an affront that we're trying to micromanage, but our job is to manage. Our job is the checks and balances. So we really appreciate from the controller's office as we go along, especially before the gap sheet comes out, if there is a concern, because that's the only way. Knowledge is power, and that's the only way we're going to be able to make those decisions. But thank you for reminding us about that page, and a lot of the public who are watching right now probably had no idea about it, so thank you.
Any other comments? Councilmember Nowakowski.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I did review what our Chief of Staff sent this morning from Commissioner Estridge, and I do want to say, Commissioner Helfer, as one of the most responsive commissioners, I do appreciate you, and I do appreciate the supplemental information you guys provided us today. I feel like I have a better peripheral vision of what we really are looking at this budget season, which is very much in the red. I just have a quick question. I did see, on April 3rd, Congressman Higgins was outlining some of the CARES Act and what municipalities, especially the city of Buffalo, will be getting. I know that the city of Buffalo will be getting about $8.2 million in block grant funding, and I know that that funding's pretty adjustable. And I do know that there's also an outline of about $4 million for emergency solutions grants. I just want to know, can this be assisted to fill in some of those huge shortfalls that we will be seeing?
Yeah, let me talk to Commissioner Estridge on that. I think that's more on the CDBG side, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I will make sure he communicates with you on that and let you know, Councilmember.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay. Motion.
Councilmember, anything from the public?
Any comments from the public, Ms. St. Jean?
No, nothing at this time. And the links are provided in the comments for the open data, and also the comptroller's office link is in there if the public would like to go on their website.
Thank you. Anything else? Okay, council members, thank you so much. Motion to adjourn,
Seconded.
seconded by Councilmember Noakowski.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.